Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. I am James Tyler, Microsoft MVP, and we are switching gears today to talk to you about how to program in Python. We are going to do it in less than an hour, and it's going to be a great tutorial. We are going to be using Visual Studio Code with the Python extension and with GitHub Copilot. I would note that GitHub Copilot is free. Now there's a free tier of it, so I really would recommend that you start off coding with Python using the Copilot, but I still want you to do your best to learn as much as you can about the syntax of the programming language and not just let it do it for you, but it is a really great tool to use to program with Python. We'll also be using Python that you can go download at python.org/downloads. So let's go ahead and change gears, get over to VS Code, and make our first script. All right, we are now in VS Code. Like I noted before, we are using the GitHub Copilot AI extension, and we are also using the Python extension, which I'll show you what that looks like here. And those just give us some added value for the supporting the language, just correct syntax things. And I won't go into all the features, but it's definitely just a nice thing to have for really any language that you're programming in. So we don't need that open anymore, but we are going to go ahead and make our new file. We'll go to New File, and we will make a Python file. Now we're going to use the print function, and this is a built-in function inside of Python to get us rolling, and we are going to do the very first thing that most programmers do, which is say hello world, and Copilot's kind of messing me up. Hello world, and we'll go ahead and save that. Hello. So hello.py, and to run a program in Python or in Visual Studio, we can just do run Python, and we see that it printed back hello world to the console. So very cool, very simple to get rolling on Python. Now we're going to move into comments. And the thing with comments is there is a line of code that is not actually run. So this is a comment right here. We can go ahead and run this again. We see that it did not execute or print anything with that line. Comments are useful to just help you know, or help you when you return to a script know what the script actually does. And GitHub Copilot is actually really fantastic at writing comments for you just like that. So if I got rid of this, I thought it would actually give me a more relevant comment. I could do this as a comment, but if I do it again, then I don't want to do that. Print a greeting message, right? So it did that. Another way to do comments is a multi-line comment, and you can do multi-line comments this way. It's still technically just a series of single line comments, but it is doing the 3 apostrophes, and we'll see this is a Python script that prints a greeting message and includes comments and a print statement. It's kind of weird that it auto-suggested putting in the hash, but again, none of this will get printed, right? So pretty straightforward. And we are going to go ahead and switch gears. We'll clear that out. And we are going to talk about variables. So we're going to make a string variable called favorite character. And we'll just roll with Gandalf. That's fine. We're going to make an age integer. And I don't really know why it's doing that suggestion. Let's just go 5. We're going to make a float as well, which is like a decimal. We'll just use the variable for pi, 3.14. I don't know, but if I kept going, it would keep suggesting more. And then it kind of got what I was doing, and we're going to make a Boolean. Now, what's important to note with Python is that these are sort of dynamic. No, they're not sort of. They are dynamically typed. I don't have to say that this is an integer. It just knows, or that this is a string, or this is a float. And we can use the type method that is built in, or type function, I guess it should say, on our favorite character. And really, I'll tab that out, GitHub Copilot's so good, it already knows what else I want to do here. And we can get all the types if we wanted to confirm a type. So pretty cool. And I think that's about it for that piece of it. Let's get those out of there. And I think, what else did I want to say? Oh, yeah, that's right. I do have some small amount of notes here. I like to do these things just for fun, with really easy, and come up with examples on the fly. So we can also explore the methods that we can apply to the variables. So for the instance of our favorite character, if I hit a dot right here, it'll give me all sorts of methods, right? I could send this all to lowercase, tab that out. And if we print that, we see that Gandalf is all lowercase. But I can also use a different method called upper to make it all uppercase. Pretty cool. So there's a lot of built-in methods based on the type of object or the type of variable, but treating it as an object that you can invoke. And we're certainly not going to go through all of them. We're going to keep rolling here. And while we're on variables, I'd like to talk about the kinds of lists of variables that we have available to us in Python. And the first thing we'll talk about is arrays. Now, Python's most basic list or version of similar to an array in PowerShell, it's a little bit cleaner, is invoked just by doing this. So if I say Jedi, it's suggesting a string, but what I really want is to put on a bracket, and it's suggesting more and more. And it even suggested Anakin Skywalker. We can leave him in here because I got a good example for that, actually. And we can also print just the entire array back ourselves if we'd want to. The array is also an object that can be acted upon. So if we see Jedi, I can go ahead and print that, do a little clear, and it gives me all the values. Now, same thing, I hit a dot, and now I have methods available to me. I could do a dot reverse, tab that out. Let's go ahead and clear. Well, let's leave that there because you can see how it reverses it. And that didn't work, but that didn't do what I thought it did. I thought that would reverse the order. I'm kind of curious what that does now, actually. And that's actually a good thing to go to Copilot for, explain that. Yeah, why didn't that work then? It's interesting. None. Jedi.reverse. I bet I would need to reverse it. And then... yeah, exactly. Yeah, it didn't want to do it inside of the print. So, no, it does do what I thought it did. I just wasn't doing it correctly. So we can see down here that it's not in the same order as it was. It reversed the order of all the elements in the array. So the point stands, and that's actually, I'm going to leave that into the video because I think that's a great point of just, hey, if you need help with something, you got a lot of options right here, and including that Copilot, you can go explain something, and I say use it. Everybody else is using it now, and I think it's a real helpful tool. But we're going to keep rolling on our explanations of arrays here because we'll get the reverse out. But I do want to show you that you can actually reference a specific element of the array using the index, and they are all indexed like other programming languages, PowerShell included, starting with 0. So if I do 0 here, I'm getting just Luke Skywalker, right? So I'm getting that first element. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Very cool. And we can easily add and remove from our arrays as well. So let's, I'll leave this print statement here. We'll just have it print back the Jedi later when we're done. But let's say I want to append, and I also maybe want to remove. I like that suggestion. You know, I like that it even suggested a comment. And we could even do that and sort them all alphabetically. So append, remove. So we're going to add Ahsoka Tano, and we're going to remove Anakin because he's not a Jedi anyway anymore. And then we'll go ahead and sort the array, right? And this is just, I love the flexibility of Python with this stuff. And I really love doing this video with GitHub Copilot as well. So we see that it's alphabetized now, and we've removed Anakin, and we've added Ahsoka. So very cool stuff, but what's more, another more complex kind of list of data is and it's not really a list either, is a dictionary. So we're going to go ahead and shift gears and make our first dictionary. So I want to make a dictionary called the Fellowship. And I don't want to do a string, although I appreciate the suggestion. I want to throw a bracket out there. And that's not exactly what I want to do. I'm going to start doing a pattern. Actually, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say I want a wizard handoff. And see if it starts. Yep, and it did start. And we'll just leave it at the 3 for now. That's fine. So now I have a dictionary. I'm going to go ahead and do a clear. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a print. We can print dictionaries like how we can print. Just want to print just the Fellowship. And what am I missing here? What's the error? Oh, yes, the equals. Yep, I accept that. Thank you. You do have to say equals. You can't just throw the bracket. I should have the equals in. I'm going to leave that error in as well because, again, I'm not perfect all the time. I was getting too far ahead of myself on the what I wanted to be in the Fellowship. Well, let's go ahead and give this a run. And we see that we have printed out our dictionary. But as you saw the GitHub Copilot suggestion, if I want to just see what the elf is, I can invoke the elf key, and it will give me the value of the elf, which is Legolas. So, very useful way to store data and browse data. It's similar to PowerShell's hash tables, but I do want to highlight too that we can add and edit inside of these dictionaries as well. And we are going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to change the Dwarf. And I'm just going to tab all that out, but I don't want, oh, that's right, I didn't add, well, yeah, we can do this. This is, I was thinking the Dwarf was already in there. Again, getting way ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and add the Dwarf, and let's print the Fellowship back, actually, again. And we see the Dwarf is in there now. So, very good. Gimli is in there. But I can also edit the value of the Dwarf now. And let's call him Gimli the Brave. I like that. Let's just do a little clear. Get the terminal cleaned out. And we'll give that a run. And we see the Dwarf is Gimli the Brave, not Gimli, right? But it's kind of not a perfect example because what if I wanted to change the Hobbit, Frodo the Fearless, no, Frodo the Ring Bearer. Yeah, thank you. I'm getting splitting hairs here on this nerdy stuff, but let's go ahead and give that a run. And we see Frodo the Ring Bearer is in there now as well. We can also actually look at just the keys. Say maybe we just wanted to see the keys. I can invoke those. Let's complete that out. I'll do a little clear again. And I can just see the keys now in there. I can also see the values if I'd like. And there's also the items, which is just everything. So very cool. I love the power of dictionaries, and if you do wind up doing a lot of data stuff with Python, you'll be working with dictionaries for sure. Or also there's data frames, which we will talk about later, but I'm not going to get into those right now because that's specific to something else. So let's go ahead and just start over and give ourselves a clear. And we're going to move on to getting user input. Now, if we had a script that we wanted to run that we wanted to have some manual user input from to make our script interactive, we could do that real easily with the native input function, and we will have it just enter your name. And then we'll have it just say hello back to you, and it already knows where I'm going, so I'm just going to tab that out. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like in the terminal. Very cool. Jim, the PowerShell engineer. No, not in this video. I'm the Python engineer. Hello, Jim, the Python engineer. Very, very simple. And we can even do something more complex, kind of more complex. You could ask it more than one question, right? So say I want to know what your favorite Nintendo system was. I'll just say 1.nes/newline, and it already knows where I'm going. Wow, that's scarily fast. And we could just set our choice to be equal the input. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I'm glad you chose option choice. You could invoke that. That doesn't actually have the name. Again, we could get more complex with this, but let's go ahead and give that a run. Name is Jim. Ooh, I really, still to this day, N64 is my favorite. I'm glad you chose 3. That's funny, but I'm not going to make a more complicated one because we will get into that next, but I don't want to use this specific example with input because I want to stay focused on what we're doing. So we are now going to talk about conditional logic. And conditional logic is what helps us make decisions inside of code and really is the value of code in general because you're oftentimes evaluating things, right? So we are going to just do some simple decision-making logic with the number of Pokemon caught. We'll just say that there's 938. I don't know if that value is still accurate, but I think that's what it was last time I made the PowerShell video. Or no, it's not. It's 908. And I just want to say, hey, if Pokemon caught, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, equals, that's our equals operator, is a double set of equals, 908, colon, and I don't even need to say then or have brackets or anything. I can do colon and then tab into the next line. And I don't like that phrase. I think you are a Pokemon master is a better phrase. Thank you. Get nitpicky on some of this stuff. So I'm going to pull this else back. Whoops. I didn't tab it out. And what does it not like? Else print keep catching Pokemon. That's perfect. So we could have had an input piece on this. Maybe actually I will just do that. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that actually. I like that. We'll do an input on Pokemon caught. We'll do a print. How many Pokemon have you caught? I love Copilot so much. And then we want this to be an input, not a 9 input. Oh yeah, you do, if you want to type it out. Yeah, you can type these out. That's an important suggestion. Type input So let's see, let's give this a run, and we can kind of give some feedback based on our input, right? So this is actually kind of like what a script would actually look like, right? So how many Pokemon have you caught? Well, I caught 0908. No, that's secretly not true. Congratulations, you're a Pokemon master. Let's run it again. I did up arrow there to do that. I only caught 907, which is nowhere near greatness. Got to keep catching them, right? So we can also flip this logic and do not equal, which is an exclamation point and an equal. And now we would have to kind of flip what we're doing here, right? I put this here and this here. So another way to do it. All options are good. 908. You still get the exact same thing, except we're evaluating it on a not equal. Now for this, I think, you know, the tone of whatever you're doing kind of should make most sense on where you're using equal or not equal. I suppose you could do whatever. But I also do want to highlight the other operators. These are called operators, by the way. Got a little bit ahead of myself. We can do greater than, and that's just a simple greater than symbol that you would be used to, or less than. But you can also do less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. And those do what you would assume you would do. So I will actually do an example of this, because we can evaluate Pokemon based on their region. And if you are not into Pokemon, I apologize. But the first 151 Pokemon are from the Kanto region. So we can actually let's see, how would we do that? Because we're going to have more than one condition, right? So we can have more than one condition. If Pokemon are less than or equal to 0, no, that's not right. And less than or equal to 151, your Pokemon is from Kanto region. Let's see if it can. Wait, no. Yeah, I want that. I want that code right there. Your Pokemon is from the Johto region. And then I just love the power of GitHub Copilot that's going to just do all this for me. So, and then we want to just say, and actually we want to change the name of all that variable. Yeah, and we could still call it Pokemon caught. What is the number of the Pokemon you caught? Yep, I'm good with that. And we have all of our logic here now, and that went super quick, so I apologize if that was too quick, but this is how you could chain together something. Let's do a little clear, and give it a run, and I caught Pokemon number 25, who we all know and love, from the Kanto region, Pikachu. So, very, very powerful stuff. We've gone through quite a bit here in a short region, or short region, in a short amount of time. I love leaving errors, and I'll always tell you guys that. And I love just doing the Pokemon references. It's very cool. It's asking me to put together my whole script again. I don't want to do that. But we are going to move on to using the match statement. And with this example, I want to show you how you can match a case. Again, more conditional logic. And we're going to say house equals Targaryen. Yep, that's cool. I can just start typing that and it knows. So if I want to match the house to the greeting or the thing I would like to say to the user who specifies their house, I can just go ahead and just type all this right here. So you'll see that we have all these different cases, right? So whatever house equals, it's going to give you, I guess, just their saying. It was what it came up with. I'll go ahead and leave this stuff. I don't totally agree with it, but otherwise unknown house. So again, this will evaluate based on what the value of house is. So Targaryen went to Fire and Blood. If I change the value of this to Stark, winter is coming, right? So very, very powerful feature of Python. This is a Python 3.1 or 3.10 plus, I believe. Well, the concept or a feature of Python of the match statement. So, but again, if you downloaded Python, you've got the latest version, right? So let's go ahead and move on to loops. And again, another important, very powerful thing is using code repeatedly. And a huge piece of coding and automation in general is just doing the same thing the same way every time, right? So with a loop, we can code very efficiently, and it works the same as in other languages. So let's go ahead and do some people from Halo. We'll do a little array. And I'm going to start with, there we go. Not quite. Let's do maybe Cortana. There we go. Right? I don't know. I don't even like that. I want Captain Keys. Yeah, that's good enough. I got some Halo people, and I'll just throw the flood in there. Yeah, sorry, I didn't take the GitHub Copilot suggestions on that one for whatever reason. So we're going to loop through these, this array of people from Halo, and we're going to do it using the for loop. So for peep in Halo peeps, I just want to, I guess, say hello to them. I think that's an okay example. Very cool. So pretty simple loop. We loop through every single element in this array. And again, this is so elegant. The way Python does this is, I just love it. And we just print, hey, hello to them. So pretty straightforward. Now there's several different ways we can loop, execute this for loop in Python. You could do a range, which is what people may be more familiar with. And so I'm going to do an example of that. So for I, our iterator, in range, and it's already doing it for me, I love that, we are going to use the length function. And again, return the number of items in a container. It explains it to you if you hover over it. And I believe that's the Python extension doing that. That's not GitHub Copilot. And then the range, again, you can hover over anything at any point and return an object that produces a sequence of integers, right? So we're getting the length of Halo peeps, which will be 4, even though, again, don't forget, we start at index 0, so I know that gets confusing sometimes. And we're still doing the same thing, and we're going to add 1 to I every time to keep the iterating through it, right? So pretty elegant. Again, really is. And we just get the number dot Halo peeps, right? Again, this gets confusing because this is not the index of the element. Element 0 is Master Chief, but we're listing out, when we count, we don't, for the purpose of length, we don't count 0. You know, if you have 4 elements, you have 4 elements. So just don't get confused with that. So let's go ahead and switch gears to while loops, another popular, well-known loop. And with a while loop, we would need a counter variable. So we're going to do a counter and start it with 0 because we do want to do the element 0. And we'll do a while counter is less than length of Halo peeps. And then in that loop, we're going to print Halo peeps, and we're going to reference the index number with the counter, right? So this is a common way of doing this. And then we need to use this little operator right here that does a plus equals where it adds a 1 to the counter, right? So we're now going to switch gears to something more on the line of reusing code. It's on a similar vein, kind of. I mean, it absolutely is doing code over and over again. And that is making functions. We want code that is reusable. So if I have something I want to do more than once in a script, I don't want to be typing it more than once in a script or redefining it, because then I want it to be done the same way every time. So in this case, let's take a look at making a function, and you do that with def. And you can hover over that. Well, no, it's claiming there's an error here, so let's just go ahead and do it. And we're just going to make a little one called greet user. And we're just going to say hello world to our user, right? Going back to our, and it keeps, Copilot keeps wanting me, it's like, no, go back to your Halo examples there. So if we wanted to call greet user, we defined greet user right here with the def, and we want to call it just by doing this, right? So we say, hey, this is defined. I'm going to call it, and I can add other things inside of this function. Welcome to my Python programming. Perfect. Love that. So the function could be used over and over again, and it's very powerful. But what's even more powerful is just getting the user's name, right? So the way to do that, and by getting the user's name, I mean collecting input into the function, right? Because we maybe don't have just a static thing that we want to do every time, right? So I don't want to do that like that. I just want, no, I don't, again, Copilot. Sometimes you get in the way of what I'm trying to demonstrate, but if we just wanted to grab name and then reference it inside of this, I would simply do this, name, put the name in the curly cues. It's trying to get me to do a little more complicated stuff than I want to do at the moment, but I do have this function defined. Oh yeah, do need that F there. And we'll go ahead and do that. Oh no, what the heck? No, yeah, no, I don't. Oh yeah, I'm not actually collecting input, right? So let's run this. This is actually a good learning moment. It's like, hey, you said you wanted this name to run this function. You don't have it, right? So if I want to throw that in there, Jim, I want to greet Jim. Hello, Jim. Welcome to Python programming, right? Pretty straightforward. I'm going to just run that again because it looks a little cleaner. I don't like seeing errors on the screen. But that is a good point. Yeah, I hadn't collected the input. But you could do that. Or you could collect it down here, right? Name equals input, enter your name. And then now, exactly, it already knows. It's like, hey, well, yeah, it looks like you probably want to do that, right? So let's go ahead and give this a clear. Give it a run. Hey, who are you? I'm Jim. Hey, Jim. And so it goes. Now we can do something actually useful other than greeting somebody. Like, let's just make a little function to just calculate the area of a square or of a rectangle. So we're going to do a calculate area, and area is just length, width, right? Oh, that's interesting. We're having a reference to public code and recent suggestion. Oh, that's interesting. I appreciate you, Copilot, but I'm just not going to do that right now. But we do have the length and width that we're now using. So I can now use calculate area. And I'm just going to just use the example it has. And I don't like that it's got a comment with the answer because I'm trying to calculate that with my function, right? So let's go ahead and give it a run. Oh, and we would want to print it if we want any kind of feedback, probably, right? There we go, 15. we're calculating the area of what we give it. Again, these could be variables, and you could make whatever kind of function you want to do any kind of thing you'd like inside of the function. This is like an exceptionally long comment too, but found that to be an interesting choice. So modern Python uses type hints for better code documentation, and this is kind of similar to how we can specify parameter types in PowerShell and advanced functions. And that, I think that's kind of important because, you know, you don't want these to be strings, right? I could say that I want these to be floats because I could be expecting a decimal potentially. So literally I could force that, and it knows what to do by specifying that it needs to be a float. So let's go ahead and give that a clear, and then give that a run. And actually, I think I know what's going to happen here. No, it still works, even though I gave it integers. But I could do it 5.5 now, and 3.0. There you go. So pretty good example of defining some functions. Important stuff in any programming language, I feel. I love it when you scroll down. VS Code does this, so you have context for what function you're looking in, or where you're at in your code. But we're going to move on and talk about a little bit of error handling, and we are cruising. I feel like, I mean, this might go over an hour. I don't know, but let's go ahead and work on some error handling. We know things can go wrong, so we do need to handle errors sometimes. And we do have try-catch blocks in PowerShell as well, but Python has them, again, very elegantly. And we can just do a quick example here of snagging a number. Just enter a simple number, and then we'll do a result equals 10 divided by the number. And well, no, I wanted that print statement. Print result, yeah. And then we can try that, except, and have a condition where we just say, hey, that's not a valid number, right? Oops. Come on, Copilot, you're killing me. And then, man, I love that. It just knows where I'm going. We may have a zero division error, right? Because you can't divide by zero. And we want to maybe throw that out as an example. And we can do that pretty easily. So let's go ahead and give this a run. I'm going to do a little clear. Give it a run. Enter a number. Just want to go 2. The result is 5. Go up arrow. Let's run the script again. I'm going to give it a 0. Hey, whoa, delete you can't divide by 0. Again, I went out of order on that because I do have the value error in general. So if I don't divide by the number t or the number j, or what, I guess it wouldn't matter. That's not a valid number, right? So it's handling the different errors for us here, and it's super valuable. And I think, again, I always go back to data parsing because for some reason I feel like that's what I do a lot of. You know, going back to there is just being able to account for that, but it can really account for all kinds of errors, right? So it's not just that. So let's move on to, I just want to show you some examples of some file operations. And I just want to show you how to make a simple file, how to write to a file. So to do that, we are going to use the with context manager to create a file object. Yes, right? Yes, because we are going to use open, and I'm going to get a example.txt, and I want to write it as a file, and I just want to write hello world 2. That's perfect. Now, I do want to note here down in the terminal, we are actually not in the directory where our C scripts is, so I want to tab complete that. C scripts. we're in users gym and I want to be in users or C scripts Python. We'll clear that out. It's all right. And we'll go ahead and give this a run. And it executed. So now if I go to open it, I see my example.txt sitting here. There it is. We have written to a file. But we can also read a file back pretty easily, and we can modify that script pretty easily to do that. So I want to read it back. I just changed the W to an R. But I do need to set the content of the file. I need to actually go get it. And to do that, we have the read method on the file object. We can go ahead and print the contents back. No problem. And it's going to presume the same directory, I believe. I don't have to put // in there. Yep, nope, we got it right out. And again, we can reopen that. I can change it to something else. Say it changes. Hello Earth. We go run it again. Now it says Hello Earth, right? So it's me editing the text file. We're reading it back in. Pretty easy stuff. So I just want to show that a little bit because you're likely going to be wanting to write. I mean, maybe not. I mean, depending on it, it's a common use case, right? Just writing stuff. So we will go ahead and move on to a little bit of object-oriented programming. And I've talked about this. You know, if you know, I work a lot with PowerShell. I hate to keep referencing it so much. Objects are key. They are king. But Python supports object-oriented programming with a really clear syntax, a clean syntax, I should say. And we're just going to go ahead and just create a simple class and then build some objects out of it. So say we have a class of Jedi, and it's already moving along right away. But say I want to define just some simple properties for it. And we will do that with the init. And I actually want to do a lightsaber color. So a Jedi has a name and a lightsaber color. And that lightsaber color is actually going to be blue every time, right? Yeah, I love that it knows. It's so funny to me. So self.name is equal to name. The lightsaber color is equal to the lightsaber color, which we're kind of presetting to blue. And let's just come up with something called force power. Self.force power equals 100. And then let's say we want to just do a simple method, right, for objects in this class that can be acted upon. So say I want to use the force, and I don't think I want power in there. I don't see why I would want that. I must be thinking something else than what I'm thinking. I can call the use force method, and we can just do a little function here. And we can use the force. Yeah, self-name uses the force with power there. So maybe we do need to have force power in there. And say we then want to reduce the force power. So we would do the minus equals 10. We'll take away from your starting force power if you use the force, right? And this kind of be like a video game thing that we're doing here almost. So I don't think I need more complex examples than that, because we have our class now, and we're kind of defining some attributes to it, and we have a method. So if I want to create some Jedi of this class in Python, what I would do is I say I want to make Luke. I just start making a Luke variable, And I'm going to just say, hey, this is a Jedi. And I'm just going to give him a name. It's Luke Skywalker. And that's really all I need to do. And I can just say, hey, print Luke. Well, I got to do it correctly. Oh, yeah, right. If I didn't capitalize, I just want to print Luke. I don't want to do all the extra stuff. I don't know why it always does this to me. Like I said, I always go back and forth. Oh, yeah, right. No, I'd want to print the name. It is right. If I want to see where its attributes, because you're going to get something funky like that, right? So he's Luke Skywalker. By default, he has, since I didn't specify a lightsaber color, he has a blue lightsaber and it has a force power of 100, right? Well, it already knows that I can use the force because this method is a part of the class of Jedi, the ability to use the force. This is getting way nerdy, dude. But that is cool. So if I use the force, what happens now to my force power, right? Let's do it clear too. I don't like that. Oh, he used the force, and it let me know that, because right, I do have a print in here that I'm using the force, and the force power went down with the power of 100. So yeah, maybe that's kind of not good. You would almost want to say he uses the force. In that method, you would almost want to say afterwards, like, hey, the force now has a force power of. So that saves me trying to, I don't have to even re-invoke this, right? So let's go ahead and clear it. Now that method's a little bit better. Yep, so he used the force, his force power went down, this is where he started at. I'm printing those things myself, but the use the force method gave us this feedback right here. So, pretty cool stuff. Again, a little more complicated getting into classes and objects, but incredibly powerful. I mean, when you look at this right here, I mean, I just see the power of this having just different classes and methods available to objects that you want every time. And you could pull data in and, you know, make it into this class and then now have these methods available. And it kind of goes to the same thing as the functions, you know, and just the automation in general, that we want to do things the same way more than once. So I do want to talk about tkinter and making graphical user interfaces, because I love doing that if you are familiar with my work. And I already went ahead and made one. I made a little tkinter test. And I did that. It's just a little user creator. It doesn't really do anything. I didn't want to type this all out for you guys, but I did want to give it a run just to show you how to do that. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit of a run. And we see the user creator here. And it's just a little graphical interface that allows you to create, quote, create a user. You would have it do whatever you needed it to do. I just wanted to highlight that this was even possible in Python. I think it's an important feature. And it is very cool. So tkinter, gotta love it. Very cool stuff. And it just occurred to me that you guys couldn't actually see the tkinter, the user creator, because it was not in my OBS that I'm using to record this. So apologies for that. This is what it looks like. You know, it's just a little user box. It's even not quite exactly what it's looking like. It looks like OBS doesn't have it there exactly, but it does have a thing above it that says user creator. You know, like a window, like it's a proper window, and we've got the button here and the options. So cool stuff. Very important in my opinion. And we will go ahead and move on. We're not going to move on a whole lot because I actually do want to explain to you that this is a module that made this. So I got a little bit ahead of myself because I do have one more type of module I want to show to you, the request module. And this is how we import a module right here. And then we can also import other various classes from it. And this is how we go ahead and construct the tkinter. But I do want to show you guys how to also make API web requests using the request module. And I do already have an example of that as well, where we call out to the Pokemon API using requests. So we import requests. We make a little function here called getPokemon, and we get it from the Poke API using the name. And we get a response of a JSON file. So in this example, we're actually going out and getting data. We're making the request to this URL. We get the URL. We assess the response. And we have a little error handling right here as well, if there is no response. But we're going to say, hey, like, what are we getting, right? So we have our get Pokemon function that we've defined, and we're going to invoke it using the name Pikachu, which is very cool. And we're going to get the data back, right? And we're going to print that back to the end user. If it couldn't find the Pokemon name, then it didn't work. Or the Pokemon wasn't, the name wasn't there. So let's go ahead and give this a run. So it went out to Poke API. It got the Pikachu, it got the height, the weight, and the type. I could change this to anything else. I can just say I want a Snorlax. And we see that we got Snorlax's data. Now we can also see what happens if I just spell this wrong. Snore. That's funny. Oh, dude, like, what did it do? Correct? Oh no, okay, it didn't actually correct it. Nope, I just want to look for snore. Could not find snore. That's so funny. So again, very powerful with Python, the ability to be able to make API requests and import modules, as we have discussed. So we are under an hour. There's more Python to be learned, but I believe this is a good footing on using GitHub Copilot, using Visual Studio Code, working with classes, variables, dictionaries, arrays, and defining your own functions, working with loops. I mean, getting data from the internet and building graphical user interfaces in less than an hour. I hope you guys found this valuable. Like if you did, give me a comment. If you want more Python stuff, I think I've got some more coming for sure, because I'd like to dive deep into really even something like this alone. This is my jam. I love this stuff. So let me know how you feel about the video, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care.